The Pittsburgh Steelers entered the 2026 offseason carrying a rare combination of pressure, excitement, and opportunity. With a revamped coaching staff led by Mike McCarthy and a front office under Omar that had steadily built a reputation for calculated, forward-thinking moves, expectations were high across the board. The fan base, energized by the changes and the rare honor of hosting the NFL Draft in Pittsburgh, anticipated a defining moment for the franchise, a turning point that could accelerate the team's return to true contention. From the moment the offseason began, it was clear that the Steelers were in a unique position. Armed with the most draft capital in the entire event, Pittsburgh had flexibility that most teams could only envy. With 12 selections at their disposal, including multiple picks in the top 100, the organization had the tools necessary to reshape significant portions of the roster. Naturally, this led to widespread speculation about potential trades. Would the Steelers package picks to move up and secure a blue-chip prospect? Would they trade down to accumulate even more future assets? Or would they stay patient and trust the board to fall in their favor? As draft night approached, those questions only intensified. Analysts debated endlessly about which direction the Steelers would take, and the lack of clear signals from the organization only added to the intrigue. The consensus seemed to be that Pittsburgh would target one of three key positions in the first round: wide receiver, safety, or offensive line. Each option had strong justification. The receiving corps lacked consistent explosiveness, the secondary could use additional depth and playmaking ability, and the offensive line, particularly at tackle, remained a work in progress. When the moment finally arrived and the Steelers were on the clock with the 21st overall pick, the anticipation reached its peak. In the end, Pittsburgh chose to stay put rather than execute a trade, and the selection was made: Max Ihenekor, an offensive tackle out of Arizona State Sun Devils. On paper, the pick made sense. Ihenekor is widely viewed as a high-upside prospect with the physical tools to develop into a cornerstone player along the offensive line. While he is considered somewhat raw and may require time to reach his full potential, the long-term value of investing in the trenches is undeniable. However, as the dust began to settle, it became clear that the story of Pittsburgh's first-round pick was not just about the player they selected, but about how they arrived at that decision. And in that regard, the Steelers may have stumbled in a way that overshadowed the pick itself. Leading up to the selection, reports began to surface that the Steelers' true target had been Mekhi Lemon, one of the most dynamic wide receivers in the 2026 draft class. Lemon's skill set, his ability to create separation, operate in space, and generate explosive plays, made him an ideal fit for a Pittsburgh offense that has struggled in those exact areas. It quickly became apparent that the Steelers had a strong interest in bringing him into the fold. What happened next, however, turned what could have been a routine draft night disappointment into a public relations misstep. According to multiple reports, Khan was already on the phone with Lemon before the Steelers were officially on the clock. At the time, the Dallas Cowboys held the 20th overall pick, and the assumption within Pittsburgh's war room appeared to be that Dallas would not select a wide receiver. Acting on that assumption, the Steelers made the decision to reach out to Lemon early, seemingly confident that he would still be available when their turn came. But in the NFL draft, assumptions can be costly. Word of Pittsburgh's intentions somehow reached the Philadelphia Eagles, a division rival with both the motivation and the resources to act quickly. Sensing an opportunity, Philadelphia orchestrated a move up the board, jumping ahead of Pittsburgh to select Lemon. In a matter of moments, the Steelers' plan unraveled, and it did so in a way that was visible to the entire football world. Footage from the green room captured the moment in real time. Lemon, surrounded by family and friends, was seen celebrating while on the phone with Khan, believing that he was about to become a Steeler. The excitement was palpable, a culmination of years of hard work and anticipation. Then, everything changed. As Philadelphia made their move, Lemon received another call. Confusion set in. At one point, he reportedly asked Khan why the Eagles were contacting him, a question that underscored the sudden and unexpected shift in events. For Pittsburgh, the optics of the situation were undeniably poor. This was not simply a case of a team missing out on a preferred prospect, something that happens regularly in the draft. This was a scenario in which the organization's internal strategy appeared to be exposed, leading directly to a rival team capitalizing on that information. Whether the leak came from within the Steelers' camp or elsewhere remains unclear, but the end result was the same. Pittsburgh was left scrambling, and the moment became a public embarrassment on one of the biggest stages in the sport. The fact that the draft was being held in Pittsburgh only amplified the impact. What was supposed to be a celebratory event for the city and its fans instead included a moment of visible disappointment and frustration. For a franchise that prides itself on professionalism, discipline, and attention to detail, this kind of misstep stands out in stark contrast to its usual reputation. Responsibility for the situation ultimately falls on the decision-makers in the war room, particularly Khan. While he has earned significant praise for the draft classes he has assembled since taking over as general manager, this incident represents a rare but notable blemish on his record. Calling a player before being officially on the clock is a risky move under any circumstances, and in this case, that risk did not pay off. It's important to note that the mistake was procedural, not evaluative. The Steelers did not necessarily err in their assessment of talent. Lemon may very well go on to have a successful career, just as Ihenekor could develop into a dominant force on the offensive line. The issue lies in the process, the execution, and the failure to account for the possibility of another team intervening. In a draft environment where information is currency and timing is everything, even small miscalculations can have significant consequences. Despite the setback, the Steelers' draft is far from over. With 11 selections still remaining, the organization retains ample opportunity to recover and build a strong overall class. The needs that existed prior to the draft, wide receiver, safety, and interior offensive line, have not disappeared, and there are still plenty of prospects available who can address those areas. In fact, Pittsburgh's depth of picks could ultimately work in its favor. The team has the flexibility to move around the board, target specific players, and adapt to how the draft unfolds. Whether that involves trading up to secure a falling prospect or staying patient and capitalizing on value in later rounds, the Steelers are well positioned to make impactful additions. From a broader perspective, the success of a draft class is rarely determined by a single moment. While first-round picks receive the most attention, contributions from later-round selections often play a crucial role in shaping a team's future. If the Steelers can identify and develop talent throughout the remainder of the draft, this early misstep may ultimately be viewed as a minor hiccup rather than a defining failure. Still, the lesson is clear. In the NFL draft, preparation must be matched by precision. Every decision, every call, and every assumption carries weight. For Khan and the Steelers, the experience of losing out on Mekhi Lemon in such a public and avoidable manner will likely serve as a reminder of just how unforgiving the process can be. Now, the focus shifts forward. Khan must regroup, recalibrate, and ensure that the rest of the draft is executed with the same level of discipline that has defined his tenure thus far. The Steelers cannot afford to dwell on what might have been. Instead, they must capitalize on the opportunities that remain, using their remaining picks to address key needs and strengthen the roster. At this moment, it's fair to say that Pittsburgh finds itself slightly behind the curve, a team that stumbled early but still has the resources to recover. Whether they can do so will depend on the decisions they make from this point on. The stage is set, the pressure is mounting, and the margin for error is shrinking. For the Steelers, the rest of the 2026 NFL Draft is not just about adding talent, it's about restoring confidence, both internally and among the fan base. And by the time the final pick is made, the hope is that this class will be remembered not for one unfortunate moment, but for the collective impact of the players who ultimately define it. Comment if you think the Steelers should reconsider keeping Omar Khan on the team. Thanks for watching and see you soon.